Okay, well, great to see you all, and welcome to guests from Healthbuddi, our online program for cellular health and weight loss, and the Diet Whisperer Books website. Thank you all for your continued support and for sharing and helping us to get these important messages out there to as many people as possible.
I'm Dr. Monique.
And I'm Dr. Paul Barrington Chell.
This session is designed to inform and support you, but isn't a substitute for personal medical advice. Everyone's health is different, so please do speak to your own doctor before making any change to your diet, lifestyle, or treatment.
We're going to start with a short presentation on our belief systems, and we'll then move on to the question and answer session. We're going to talk about our beliefs. And you remember that last time we talked about how big food and government for the past 50 years has really been influencing our belief systems by, we talked about telling lies and creating myths last time, and how this makes the weight loss journey so much more difficult in terms of losing weight and also keeping the weight off. So we thought it would be great to follow that up with a chat this evening about our belief systems and how we can use those to our advantage, but only when we understand them. So today I'm going to talk to you about the conscious brain and the unconscious brain and the theory of what happens between those. And once that's done, Monique is going to do the important bit, which is to talk about 5 really positive things that we can do to influence our unconscious brain. So I hope that this is something that's useful to you. Before we start, I've got some super exciting news. We've got 2 more courses coming out at Healthbuddi towards the end of the year. And one of them is on building brain resilience. And this is really for early cognitive decline in Alzheimer's, vascular, posterior cortical atrophy, all the other types of dementia when they present early. People often don't know what they can do to support themselves in terms of their cellular health and their brain resilience from diet, lifestyle, and environment. And so we're putting a course together which will be available in the autumn. So very, very excited about that. And we're also creating a course on supporting cellular health during and after cancer treatment. These are 2 things that we have really been pushed to do for people. So I'm hoping that those actually prove to be really, really helpful, where people can't get that advice. And so we're hoping those courses will give them the advice that they need. So really super excited about those.
And these courses are to support people in their medical journey.
Totally, yeah, totally. This is
So
standing side to side with the medical carers and trying to support them by getting the best cellular health, getting the best mitochondrial health that will actually really provide the support that's needed. So, sorry, Monique, the books will be out, those 2 books as well, those will be out in 2027. So we will get there eventually.
And just to say that if you know people who have cognitive problems, possibly a diagnosis of early dementia or cancer, and they'd be interested in these, if they do sign up for the newsletters either on the Healthbuddi or the Diet Whisperer website, then they'll be notified. So please share this.
Yeah, two very exciting courses to go alongside the weight loss and disease reversal course. So very excited about those, and of course the new books. Okay, back to our belief systems. This is Freud's iceberg, and Freud's iceberg is, I think it's a really nice way of representing our conscious mind, which is the bit that we all know and people recognize us by. It's what other people see, and that's the bit above the waterline. And then the larger unconscious mind lies below the waterline. I think it's a really nice example. And what we've got above the waterline is our conscious mind is where logic, decisions, willpower, short-term thinking, and this is where our reasoning goes on. Underneath the waterline, in our unconscious brain or mind, those two terms are interchangeable. But Freud described the place where habits, urges, and emotions live. And that very much shapes our behaviour. I just want to stop for one moment. Have we got other people wanting to join? Yeah. Let me just do that. I've just got this little message saying people want to join, which should. Right, okay. Just want to let those people in, and I can't do it whilst I'm on this screen. So, right, okay, that's fine. So, this is a real good descriptor. And I think when you think about the bit of the iceberg above the water and the large amount of the iceberg below the water, it's very easy to imagine those two in terms of a descriptor. In terms of the relationship between the two, I actually prefer the model that Jonathan Haidt described in his book in 2014. And I'll share that with you now. Just going to add people, and then
Just give us a moment if you would.
just excuse me for a moment. Let me just wait for a moment, and I want to. It's great. Yeah, let me see. Add people, that's fine. It's not coming, is it? People.
No, we've got it. We've got done it.
Have we?
Yeah, we've got 11.
You've got that?
Sorry.
Okay, excuse that. Now, let me just go back to sharing the screen again. Lovely. So this is a very nice descriptor, and great. Okay, apologies. This is a really nice descriptor because it's called the elephant and the rider. And the rider is obviously the less powerful of the two. And you can see here that the elephant is the unconscious brain and the rider is the conscious brain. And again, the conscious brain, just to recap, is where reasoning, willpower, and short-term thinking are. And the huge, powerful elephant represents the unconscious brain, which is habits, urges, and emotions, which shape our behavior. And there's a story about this picture because he's wandering back through the bush and trying to get to his home, and he's promised his wife that he's going to get home in time for supper tonight. And so as he travels along the journey, all is going well until the elephant remembers that there is a watering hole along this road, and at the watering hole the gamekeeper leaves some beets. And so when he arrives at the watering hole, the elephant moves the beets and the watering hole. Now, what you can see here is that the elephant is going to win this conflict. The rider wants to go home, the conscious brain, and the unconscious brain is saying, yummy, yummy, let's have some water and some beets. And this conflict is very uncomfortable. It's a conflict that was first described in, I think, around 57 by Leon Fastinger. And Festinger described this as, and I'll read this out because I think I want to get this right, the psychological discomfort experienced when our beliefs, values, or knowledge conflict with our behavior. And it's called cognitive dissonance. That was the term that Festinger actually related to this conflict between the rider and the elephant. Now, unsurprisingly, Big Food, with their marketing campaigns, have huge amounts of psychological expertise. So they actually target the rider as well as the elephant. And in this situation, what cognitive dissonance does is it creates a conflict that is very uncomfortable. It's acutely uncomfortable for us as human beings when we get this this mismatch between the desires of our behavior and the desires of the conscious brain or the rider. And so what we do in this situation naturally is we make an excuse. So in this particular instance, with the rider going home to his wife, you may say, well, I'm only going to be 10 minutes late. It is a hot day and I'd like the elephant to have a drink. And you'll be aware of all the times that this has happened to you over a box of chocolates in the fridge. And it's a very similar situation. So one of the things that Big Food, the marketing companies, do is they recruit the rider. And I think we've all heard the narrative that they actually place in our conscious mind. And we use this because it allows us to reduce the cognitive dissonance. It reduces the conflict between the conscious brain, and the unconscious brain. It's just a treat. Well, I exercised today, I've earned it. Everything in moderation. Life's too short. Well, it's the weekend. I've had a stressful day. It's organic, it's natural, it's whole grain. And this, in modern parlance, I often think that this is when we're tired driving home from work and we have to call into the fuel station to fill the car up. Just as we're walking to the till, we get this message from our elephant, and our elephant says, oh, that chocolate bar looks nice. And then the cognitive dissonance occurs, and so we then create a narrative that's been pre-implanted in us, and it's often one of these things. Or it may be, well, I won't have pudding tonight, or I went to the gym today, or etc., etc., etc. And it's a really nice way of understanding that conflict that is constantly happening and is applicable to people who are trying to moderate their diets. Big Food also influences the elephant. And I'm quite sure that these implanted ideologies in the elephant that have come from the marketing, you'll have heard of many of them before. It's all about the calories, and this here, obesity is laziness. These are very convenient things to implant into the elephant, because not only do they create an enormous amount of guilt, but they actually create a narrative amongst the whole population that somehow obesity is about laziness, and we know that it isn't. And the other thing that's very convenient for Big Food is that once people are saying eat less, up here, eat less, move more, it immediately transfers the blame game from their highly toxic, high sugar products to you as the person that is consuming those. And, you know, it's all about calories. Will come up in the questions later. I know I saw a question earlier about calories, and you deserve a snack. These are all implanted in us. And there's an energy bar company that has an AI image of a footballer on the front, very lean, fit looking man. And this is a chocolate flavored sports and energy drink. And it's distributed all over the world, and it is highly packed with sugar, with sucrose. So they have words like natural and wholesome, which mean absolutely nothing. And this is how they influence your elephant. Well, I hope that that tells you a little bit about the conscious brain, the unconscious brain, which is bigger and more powerful, which drives our urges, our habits, and our emotions, which in turn makes our behavior, and how cognitive dissonance is the resolution of the conflict between those two. And now Monique is going to give you 5 brilliant ways that you can countenance this psychological trauma.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, I am. I'm going to suggest what to do to avoid cognitive dissonance and how to make your weight loss journey or disease reversal or disease improvement journey more successful. And you may think that I'm going to talk to you about willpower, which of course comes from the conscious mind. And willpower is great. Yes, willpower is very useful, and we use it to succeed in life and to achieve things that we want to. But willpower against ourselves is destructive and is, as Paul just described, cognitive dissonance. So if your conscious brain starts to tell your unconscious brain what to do and really tries to make it do that with willpower, then that's going to fail. So willpower is not the answer, and we all know that we've seen either in ourselves, our families, or others when they say, you know, on Monday I'm going to give up drinking, I'm never going to drink again, I'm not going to the pub, and then by Thursday it's all gone to rack and ruin because they've just tried to exert willpower on changing their unconscious brain. Now, we've got to get clever about this, and we are going to nudge our unconscious brain and persuade it to go in the direction that our conscious brain has decided. So we're all here, and some of you are on weight loss journeys, some of you are on disease reversal journeys, so your conscious brain has made that decision. And what I'm going to share with you is how to bring your unconscious brain along with you. So the first strategy that I'm going to look at is step 1, make the right behavior easier. Elephants like easy things, and so do conscious brains, so do riders. Everything that's easy works much better than if it's not easy. So make the good behavior easy and make the bad behavior difficult. What does that look like in real life? Well, let's suppose that you've decided to give up sugar. You're starting on Monday. Well, what you want to do is make it easy to give up sugar. So you go to your house, you look at the fridge, you look at all the cupboards, maybe the car, maybe your office, and you remove all sugar from your dwelling. Then on Monday evening or Tuesday evening, when you're lying there and your unconscious brain says, do you know what? The elephant says, do you know what? I'd really like some chocolate. It's really difficult now to get chocolate or anything sweet because you haven't got it in the house. So there's no willpower. You've just made that action more difficult, and that will make your journey more successful. If you battle the elephant, it's bigger, stronger, more powerful. The elephant will win. You cannot beat the elephant.
The example that I really like about changing the path,
go on,
is a very small step in life when you decide that you're going to walk for 15 minutes after your evening supper. Is before you have supper, put your walking shoes by the front door.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, there's so many ways that you can use this. You know, for example, a tired elephant, a tired brain makes poor choices. You don't go shopping when you're tired. You're going to buy the wrong things. Okay, moving on to strategy number 2. We are going to look at rules. You may think that you're going to write a list of rules and that on Monday you're going to follow those rules. But, and most of us try to achieve rules, but that's a question really of willpower, and it's not about rules. You know, your rules could be, I'm not eating sugar anymore, or I need to eat more. But in fact, what you will be more successful doing is to change your identity. So I am someone, for example, who is interested in my cellular health. I want to be a healthy person. I want my cells to be healthy. And then that will bring your elephant along with you, and the elephant will want you to have healthy decisions as well. So you are no longer, for example, a person who says, oh, I have to run, I don't really want to. You want to become an active person, and active people run. So you change your identity to a healthy person. Your elephant will then help you make healthy choices rather than say, well, do you know what? I don't really want to do that. Rules create resistance.
Yep.
Resistance by your elephant.
It's how you frame this. If you say, I don't eat chocolate, that's a rule. When you say, I'm the sort of person who looks after their metabolism, that then becomes an identity.
Absolutely right. Moving on to strategy number 3, which is create small wins. Elephants like to be successful. So the elephant actually doesn't like to go home and fight with the rider. Actually, the elephant wants to be at one with the rider. So the elephant is quite happy when the rider chooses the right behavior by going a different path home and there's no battle. That's a happy elephant, a happy rider. And so creating small wins is identifying something that you need to achieve. For example, no snacking. And you then establish some time when you're going to start, and you try to do a week. You fail 3 or 4 times. Okay, week 2, you carry on again. You maybe only fail twice. And week 3, you don't snack at all. And you have become, by just doing a small thing, somebody who only eats meals and doesn't snack. And that transforms your weight loss journey, your cellular health, your mitochondria. And the elephant loves small wins because it gets confident and it's happy to go in this direction.
Baby steps.
And baby steps, and you're on the way. My 4th strategy is a curious one, and many of us think that more choice is a good thing. But actually, the elephant can become tired of making decisions. And if you present it with decisions that are made with it's much happier, and it can settle down and concentrate on doing the thing rather than thinking about what it may do. I mean, we're stuffed with choices from the time we wake up to the time we have breakfast. How are we going to get to the train station, walk or drive? And if you just remove all those choices and make your life a routine. So, for example, meals. Make a meal plan for the week. On Sunday, do the grocery shopping and do some batch cooking. Liaise with all the members of your household, and we're eating at 6 o'clock every day. This is what we're eating. No more choices, just routine. Your elephant's happy. And what you can then do by reducing the choice is bring in healthy behaviors that you as a healthy person want to follow, as does your elephant. So morning light to help your circadian rhythm, regular meals, reduce your insulin resistance, confine your eating to a 10-hour eat span, and so on. And a trained elephant is a happy elephant. And then no cognitive dissonance, and your internal stresses are sorted. We're not giving you a plan that's going to present you with difficulties and your boxing gloves, far from it. This is what you're going to do, if it suits your life and if you can.
A really nice example. I had a friend, and we had a doctor friend of mine, and we'd agreed to do 7 days of dopamine reset. And basically that means just resetting, recalibrating all your dopamine down, because we live in a dopamine-filled world. And so we decided that we would do 7 days to dampen our dopamine. And this means no TV, no online shopping, no betting, no drinking alcohol. We don't take drugs, but no taking drugs. We just get that get the dopamine right down over a period of a week. And it really is incredibly beautiful thing to do and very effective. But my doctor friend phoned me up and he said, well, I'm fine with everything, but I'm just really, really in a mess about the food. What food are we going to be eating for the week? And so I picked him up and we went down to the local supermarket and we bought Sardines. He eats 2 to 3 meals a day. I eat 1 to 2 meals a day. And for that week, we just opened a tin of sardines. That's all we ate at every meal, with water for the whole week. And it worked very, very well because it was simple and it removed the choice.
Yes, and
So, yeah,
your conscious brain was aligning with your unconscious brain. You're both
exactly
in the same direction, trying to achieve the same healthy things, and it just works. And my final one, and possibly one of the most important ones, is the environment. And you know, the truth is most of us live in an obesogenic environment. And if you change your surroundings, you change your story, you change your conscious and unconscious brain, and therefore you change your life. So for example, if you normally watch television every night and you decide, hey ho, that's it now, I'm going to join a running club or dance classes or whatever takes your fancy, then you're going to spend time with like-minded people. Most of those people will be keen on their health. They'll reinforce your new habits. Your elephant, your unconscious mind will be reinforced. You'll move together on this healthy journey and your life will become harmonious. You'll lose the weight, improve or reverse disease, prevent other diseases. And this really is how to be the best version of you. Is when you go to work, don't have a sitting desk, get a stand-up desk. When you go on holiday, instead of having a beach holiday, go on an activity holiday. There are lots of different ways you can change your environment, but ultimately your environment is very critical to your health and how you move forward. So we've looked at the 5 ways of avoiding cognitive dissonance, from making it easier to easy wins, to reducing choice, to changing your environment. And I think that if you incorporate some of these into your weight loss program, disease reversal program, that you'll find it much easier. And particularly knowing that willpower, it's not a question of willpower. It's not that people are weak, that they give up. They give up because the elephant is more powerful and they haven't nudged it in the right way. So I hope we've shared with you how to nudge the elephant and how to be successful in what you're trying to achieve. And we wish you very well on that. And now, Paul, I think we are going to move on to the questions.
Yeah, some great questions.
Jan said, fewer calories. So is it fewer calories in than calories out? Does that necessarily lead to weight reduction? And I'll leave you to answer that.
Yes, well, thanks for that question, Jan. The answer is absolutely not. And this is a great take-home message tonight. The message would be, it's not about eating less all the time. It's about eating properly less often. So just to expand on that, if you eat exactly the same number of calories over 7 small meals in a day, so let's say 3 meals and 4 snacks over a day, or you take exactly the same number of calories and you eat them on 1 or 2 meals, some people call it OMAD, or 1 meal a day, there will be a very significant difference in what happens to you metabolically at the cellular level. So multiple meals equals weight gain, same calories, 1 meal a day equals weight loss, and of course cellular health. So let's just drill down into those. Let's look first at multiple small meals. And we'll look at it from a few points of view. Let's start with the hunger hormone ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hormone that spikes upwards when and making us feel hungry. And it's very, very powerful. And how often you eat sets up what we call the ghrelin pattern. So if you eat 7 meals today, your ghrelin will spike. It will spike once, it will spike twice, it will spike 3 times, and so on until it gets to 7. And guess what? Tomorrow, you'll also get 7 spikes of ghrelin. So you'll be hungry 7 times a day. And what you've done, you're also making your elephant think that 7 meals is normal. And so you've immediately created cognitive dissonance between the rider and the elephant. And we all know who will win the battle between the rider and the elephant. And the key here is that insulin is raised 7 times a day. And when insulin is up, several things happen. Firstly, you switch off fat burn. Secondly, fat storage is switched on. And this is something that a lot of people miss out when they're explaining about insulin. But insulin significantly reduces your body's basal metabolic rate. So it slows you down. So what happens? If you're calorie restricting with multiple small meals, you'll feel cold, you'll get brain fog, your immune system will be suppressed, and that in turn will increase the risk of infections and diseases, including things like various cancers. Let's contrast that now with 1 or 2 meals a day. If you eat 1 or 2 meals a day, insulin is suppressed, increasing your basal metabolic rate, so you're burning more quickly, and it allows fat to be burned for energy. It switches off the fat storage once you've suppressed your insulin. And as insulin resistance falls, which it naturally does if you have long periods of time where you're only eating 1 or 2 meals a day, leptin resistance falls as well. And leptin is the hormone that makes us feel satiated. It's an incredibly powerful hormone, believe me. So if you eat once a day, you'll find tomorrow that you only get hungry once a day, because you only get the ghrelin pattern is just 1 spike. So something really magical happens under these circumstances. Your cells become defueled, they become empty. And empty cells are healthy cells because they allow old parts of the cell, like the mitochondria, to be broken down and replaced with super effective new ones, brand new ones. And you switch on something that is called AMP kinase and SIRT1. And these are longevity proteins. They regulate energy inside the cell. And when your cell becomes depleted of energy and your cell becomes empty, they switch on, and they are the most studied proteins that are studied all around globally in the universities with concerns about or with interest in longevity. So these are your longevity proteins. And the less often you eat, the less hungry you feel, the better you feel, and you get the added bonus of living longer. So I don't think there's a lot to dislike about eating 1 or 2 meals a day long term. Again, this is a long-term solution. It's not something that we're doing to start off with. And Monique and I have been eating 1 or 2 meals a day or no meals a day. And we cycle through that. We vary through that for the last 15 or so years.
So I want to just go back there just 1 second, Paul, and just stress that when you eat, insulin is released. And when insulin is released, you cannot burn fat. If you can't burn fat or use fat for energy, you can't lose fat. So if you look at it, that 7 meals a day, a lot of the time with circulating insulin, you're blocking your fat burning, and then you use muscle. And that's a bad thing when you've reduced your calories. So there's lots of reasons that this multiple small meals is really bad for you.
Okay, I've got a question here from Janie.
Hello, Janie.
It says, I want to make some keto cakes for a treat. Treats, you see. But how does the body react? Or is it okay to use sweeteners like stevia, etc.?
Well, Janie, that's a great question. And, you know, it's absolutely right to ask that question. And assuming that you have finished your weight loss journey and you are where you want to be and you're stable, what you're trying to say is, is that over for me? Or can I please have something that maybe somebody's coming over tomorrow for dinner, and can I give them something? We actually really think that if you avoid sugar, full stop, that you're better off. And Paul and I reinforce that our environment is sugarless. And people who know us will, when we go to their house, will give us raspberries and cream, which is great, or strawberries. So that's how we deal with it.
Not jam roly-poly.
Not jam roly-poly. But because your taste buds change over time, and all of a sudden, you start not to enjoy sweet things. But I do get it, and I don't think it's a terrible thing to want something sweet. So the first thing that you pose is the sweeteners. Are they a good or a bad thing? In general, they're probably a bad thing. But the evidence is mixed. Some of them are more natural than others, stevia being one of them, but they do affect your gut bugs in multiple ways. There is some suggestion that sweeteners, the bad ones, are associated with an increased risk of cancer. So I think that I don't think we know enough about sweeteners and the effect on our metabolism, the effect on our cells. So this one's safe, this one's not, and we just tend to avoid them. However, I do have an option for you. I'm not saying no, Jim. Is inulin comes from the chicory root. It's a naturally occurring fiber, and it is quite sweet. And it isn't a sweetener, and it's very good for your gut bugs. So it's not as sweet as sugar, but you can substitute it for sugar in your recipe. So that would be my suggestion, that you try that. Unfortunately, if somebody comes and they don't eat fiber, your guests, and they're really sugar addicts, they may not do too well with the inulin. That's the only thing I would say. Ones of you who are used to eating complex vegetables. And I think
in the kindest possible way, I describe this as we flew to Minorca last week, and
we're back.
The day before we flew, I wouldn't have taken any inulin.
No, well, but I love inulin, and I take it with my natural yogurt and cacao powder. It's just a real treat as far as I'm concerned. So. So Janie, I do have a recipe for a lemon and almond sort of mini cake,
which I think is winging its your way.
Which I will send to you. I don't want to take up people's time giving them recipes. They say, "Oh, I was on that webinar, I have recipes." So we are now going to move on to the next question, and I think that these two questions could be considered together, Paul, and it might be one for you if you could. So Gordon has asked, what about mTOR cycling? And Joe has said, if eating a low-carb diet, how long does it take?
It's actually Gordon who says.
Oh, right, says both of those.
Gordon's got written here, if eating a low-carb diet, how long does it take? And
does one bad moment spoil the effect? And I think this is something that people do worry about, Paul. So, start about.
Okay, well, firstly, we use keto, a ketogenic diet and ketogenesis to fat adapt your cells.
Springboard.
We use it as a springboard into fat adaptation. And we try and encourage people to aim for 100% keto in the first 4 to 6 weeks, because usually people are coming from very fat unadapted, to use a non-medical term, cells, and we're trying to get them fat adapted. So that's the first thing. But also, Gordon, you're human like me, and so we will have a few moments where I'm sure you, me, and I'm sure Monique go off piste occasionally. So don't punish yourself. Get back on the horse and try your best. It doesn't spoil anything, but it just means it takes longer to get to that fat adaptation. And the rule of thumb for most people is 4 to 6 weeks will take you to 80% fat adapted, and then that last 20%. And the 80% is the most important, and certainly to begin with. And then the last 20% comes over about 12 months. And the reasons for this early period of keto are several-fold. Firstly, as we said, we want to get your cells fat adapted. Fat adapted cells are like a hybrid car. They can choose under the circumstances they find themselves to burn fats or carbs. And so that's exactly where we want the cells to be. Secondly, to experience keto, some people love it and some people hate it. And some people are in the middle and they can tolerate it. And this means that it increases the pool of choices you have for your long-term planning. And going back to Joe's question about long-term keto cycling, again, this is about long-term planning. It's certainly not for the first 12 weeks. So let me tell you what we do. You know, we're N equals 2. We're not very important scientifically, but I thought it might just be insightful to tell you what we do. But I start with the seesaw. Inside each one of your cells is a seesaw. And it's a really, really important seesaw to understand. Because when when your cells are empty, you get a rise in your SIRT1 and AMP kinase. Those are the two proteins I mentioned earlier, which are longevity building. They replenish stuff in your cells. So, and then the other one is a protein called mTOR, the mammalian target of rapamycin. And when you're building muscle, you want your mTOR to be high, and when you're repairing your cells, you want your AMP kinase and SIRT1 to be high. And one gives you longevity and one doesn't. One gives you big muscles, strength, and all of the things you need to be good and strong going through the rest of your life, and the other one gives you the longevity. So Monique and I, for a long time now, have cycled between the two. It's called cycling. It's got nothing to do with velos or bicycles. And so we have a week 1, which is what we call a build week, and we have a weekend off in between, and then we have a repair and prepare week. And the way that that works in practice is we do our resistance training, our weight training, and our high intensity interval training in week 1, where we're building bone, building ligaments, building muscle. We're supporting brain health through the release of myokines. There's chemicals called myokines and a very good type of interleukin-6, which are released during weight training. They cross into the blood-brain barrier. They're incredibly important. They're incredibly supportive of brain health and neuroplasticity in the brain. And we also allow insulin to rise. So what do we eat? We basically eat meat, fish, eggs, whey powder supplements, and greens. And that week is our high protein week. So I aim for 140 grams of protein a day. Monique aims for 100 grams of protein a day, and you'd be sensible to use those during any build week that you're doing. And post-exercise, I use milk with whey protein because that's got some sugars in it as well, and that actually starts to kick the insulin up. And the reason for this is you want to raise that mTOR during your build week. And the 3 things that raise your mTOR are insulin, muscle damage from the weightlifting or high intensity training, and
Growth hormone.
Branch chain amino acids. It's actually, the growth hormone is important later, but what actually kicks the mTOR up, which is when you need the growth hormone, but the mTOR is kicked up by branch chain amino acids. And branch chain amino acids are 3 amino acids that occur in meat and also in most whey products. So that's our build week. The goal in week 2 is the exact opposite. So it's 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day, or fasting, meditation, very gentle exercise, keeping our insulin low, activating our AMP kinase and suppressing our mTOR. This creates autophagy, mitophagy. It creates new mitochondrial biogenesis, and it also creates ketosis, which has all its beneficial effects, and it creates insulin sensitivity and leptin sensitivity, leptin sensitivity is incredibly important for maintaining the ability to stay satiated after food. And it would be remiss of me not to say that we never miss the daily non-negotiables, which are circadian rhythm, light, stretching, excellent sleep, hydration, and always eat real food. So that is, I hope that covers those things, and also gives you a little insight into the way that Monique and I use this 1 week for build, 1 week for repair.
I mean, I think to summarize it, keto cycling, it's never good to have a restrictive diet long term. In the program, we use it as a springboard to fat adaptation, not a long-term diet. But when we do the alternate day week for building and then for fasting, that's because we're trying to encourage the proteins for longevity and the proteins for muscle growth. Now, if you do all of them all at the same time, it's a jumble and you get nothing of anything.
Right.
So it's as easy to just separate it. I mean, we've just picked 1 week on, 1 for muscle and 1 week for fasting. But you could do anything that you wanted once you got to where you want. And there isn't any evidence which is better but essentially we're trying to not eliminate our longevity proteins, and that's what the week's fasting is for. So
I've got
we've got
question
time
here.
just
Question
for
here
one
from
more.
There's question here from Sonia.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. There's a question from Sonia, and actually, I think earlier we said we'd try and pair this with Natalie. So Sonia asks, I've done a low-calorie diet in the past that's worked very well, but the moment I eat normally, in inverted commas, still fairly low carb, but not keto, the pounds always gradually start going on, and I have to start some form of deficit again. This yo-yoing has been my life. Is it to do with the set point and my body wanting to return to what it was, stroke lowering of metabolism, or simply eating too many carbs for my body? I'm 5'1" and 61. So thank you for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. Natalie, we said we'd take at the same time. Natalie says, I take medications that make me gain weight. I've lost weight on your program, but then I gained it back. How do I prevent that this time around? Monique, do you want to do that? Yeah,
well, Sonia and Natalie, these are really important questions. And you raised the question of yo-yo dieting and weight regain. And many people listening here will have found themselves in that position. I mean, yo-yo dieting is almost the norm. Really, most people can lose weight on most diets. The challenge isn't so much the losing weight. The challenge is maintaining the weight loss once the diet ends. And 95% of people regain weight. So don't feel despondent, don't think you're on your own, but we're confident that if you follow our program, this won't happen again. And the reason for this is that we're targeting your cellular health. Your mitochondrial dysfunction is being reversed and your metabolism is being restored. And with a healthy metabolism, healthy cells, healthy mitochondria, you can face the challenges of maintaining the weight. But let's look in detail at some of the questions that you raised. So you talk about a set point, and this is in the literature indeed, where our bodies tend to defend a certain weight range, but there really isn't a set point for a person. And the science is much more complex than a single set point. So most people believe that it's a complex interplay of your genetics, your insulin resistance, your cognitive dissonance, your reward pathways, your food environment even, sleep, metabolism, so much more affects your weight regain. And it may be when you're in the program, you concentrate really hard, and then when you're finished in the program, your sleep starts to slip, your snacking sort of tends to return. So unless you restore your cellular health, improve mitochondrial function, and have a metabolism that can flip from burning carbs to burning fat, the likelihood is that you will regain weight after your weight loss. But this is what our program is designed to do. So if you follow it, your cellular health will be very much improved. But you'll need also to consider those other things: sleep, circadian rhythm, gut bugs. It isn't just the food. So following our program, the fat adaptation, learning and practicing fasting, and in doing the others will reward you with healthy cells, and it'll be much easier to avoid weight regain. There are a few little things that you can do to help yourself once you get to where you want to. And one is to weigh, the most useful one is to weigh yourself every day. If you weigh yourself every day, you'll detect as soon as there's a problem. And then you will find, looking back, that the times you've gained weight is when you've stopped weighing yourself. So if you weigh yourself every day, you pick it up early, add in some additional fast, and you lose that 1 or 2 pounds, because after our program, you have the tools and the knowledge to stay stable. So nudge that elephant, tell that elephant that you're not going to gain that weight, and make sure your environment hasn't slipped. Now, specifically, Natalie raises a question about tablets. I don't know which tablet, but there are many tablets that cause weight regain. But I think the important thing, Natalie, is you've shown that you can lose weight. If you can lose weight, then you can keep it off. And just do that daily weighing once you get to where you want to be. And look at all those others, the sleep, the gut bugs, the exercise, the stress. And you'll find that maybe your environment, as I say, has slipped. Maybe when you're losing weight, you don't meet some people who don't share your health goals. I mean, there may be something that you can identify that changes once you finish the program that's making you, gain weight. We do live in an obesogenic society. There's no question. You are swimming against the tide to try to stay lean, but you can do it.
Can do it.
You can do it. You just need elephant and rider to be working together. So we may need to finish with this one. Paul, this is the very last one, I think, unless we can get Helen's question in. So
we may be able to just...
June asks, at a family event, will eating carbs take me back to square one? And I think we've almost covered this really now. I think you can probably all answer this yourselves.
Yeah, so this is packed with interesting stuff, really. So let's just unpack it slightly. No, it won't, as I said to Gordon. But why not use this time to help reinforce good behaviour into the elephant, and use that great trick of changing from rules-based thinking to, which is, I mustn't eat those carbs, to identity-based thinking, which is, I'm the sort of person that looks after my mitochondrial health. And I promise you this, having done this for 15 years, you do not need to have staple carbs to enjoy life. I promise you that. And in most situations when I'm out, I do one of two things. I exercise, and we have a little saying here, which is weights before, walk after. So if you can do a session of weights before and then have your meal and then walk after, you can enjoy those staples if you wish, obviously outside the 12 weeks. Or just pick that perfect plate, which we described a few webinars back, which is just divide the plate into two. Half is meat and protein. Half is protein and fat, maybe meats or fish. And the other half is greens, which is veg plus or minus salad. And you really will not go far wrong with that. You don't have to make it much more complicated. So I would like to start, because I saw Helen's question when it came up, and you're going to have to trim this one, Monique.
Okay,
You're going to have to very succinctly.
I'll answer it.
Helen asked, is ice cream a UPF, an ultra-processed food?
Well, I think that's a lovely question. There's 32 degrees here, and not all ice cream is the same. If you make your ice cream at home, it's a very simple food. It's just got milk, egg yolk, sugar, and perhaps a bit of vanilla. But these we all know as recognizable ingredients.
Yeah.
That ice cream is not an ultra-processed food. You do have to consider how much sugar is in it. But the difference between that ice cream, homemade, and commercial ice cream is that in commercial ice cream, we've got additives, which makes it an ultra-processed food. I have a whole list. I could go through the whole thing, but I don't have time, so I can't. But it's stabilizers.
We had an interesting discussion with a doctor friend of ours in Menorca last week, who described her sorbets. So this may be the way. This may be the way for you, Helen. So,
okay.
And so
Oh, it's a little ice cream sort of frappe. You take 1 cup of
ice.
1 cup of espresso, and fill your glass
Oh, sorry,
two-thirds full.
this was the sorbet.
2/3 full with chopped up ice, and top it up to the brim with milk. And the sum of the parts is totally disproportionate to how it sounds. Sounds very simple, but lovely in the heat. So I can't go over all the reasons that they put in those additives, but they're very bad for you.
Just to add that, I can't remember the absolute details of this from last week, but one of our doctor friends, she makes sorbets without using any sugar at all, just using fresh lemon juice and crushed ice. And so there are ways of doing this. I personally would never eat ice cream that has sugar in it. I avoid the stuff completely whenever I see it. Sometimes it's hidden in foods, you don't know it's there, but I just try and avoid it 100% of the time. Fructose is a nasty molecule to the liver, and we know that it causes non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and insulin resistance. So so we try and avoid that. We try and avoid that whenever we can. I'm just going to.
I'm sorry, we can't get the rest of the questions done, but we'll certainly try.
Before we finish, I just wanted to say, obviously, thank you for coming and putting up with this heat. I can tell you in the studio here, it's pretty warm. We don't have air conditioning here. Sorry if we didn't get to your question. And I hope that this has made sense. So please help us spread the word. Get your family and friends to sign up, and we can all work together to get improvements in their own metabolic health, their ideal weight, support their cancer recovery from the autumn and early cognitive decline from the autumn also. So please help us spread the word about the new courses coming in the autumn. I think they're very, very exciting. Thanks for being part of the conversation this evening. And Monique and I will be back in the new academic year, which will begin in September. In September. So have a lovely summer. Enjoy the heat wave. Make yourself some lovely sorbets. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you very much again.
And God
Good
bless
evening.
you. God bless you all. God bless you all.
I'll send you a link to the recording in YouTube.
Oh, yes.
In the next few days.
Thank you. God bless. Good night.